So a common criticism I've seen towards Insomniac Spider-Man, specifically Peter Parker, is the idea that this version of Peter Parker doesn't have a backbone, and that he's too much of a pushover. I've seen this come up in discussions about Spider-Man adaptations, and it often comes with the implication that Insomniac Spider-Man is too pure of heart and lacking in flaws to be an interesting character.
You got this wrong.
I should preface that I can understand this to a degree if we're just talking about Marvel's Spider-Man 2. There are points where I think Peter isn't standing up for his beliefs as much as he should, but when looking at the games that came out beforehand, Peter definitely does have a backbone and isn't lacking in character flaws at all. Something I do want to address as well is that some people seem to think that just because Peter isn't directly yelling in people's faces or being more aggressive in his reactions, that must mean he doesn't have a backbone, but that doesn't really indicate that Peter lacks a backbone. You can still stand strong on your beliefs in a controlled manner, especially when the time and place calls for a controlled reaction. A great example of this is when Spider-Man is getting blamed for the failure to contain Devil's Breath by Sable. Now what's interesting is that Peter is already showing a backbone without even saying a word. His first move is to block Sable so she has to go through him before aggressively confronting Dr. Michaels. Now that's not something a pushover would even think to do, and when he does get wrongfully blamed for what happened, he does stand up for himself.
So-called superhero. You think you save people, but you just make it worse. This is your fault.
My fault? He was under your protection. You really need two of those? Stop!
While Spider-Man doesn't retaliate after Sable kicks him, the reason he doesn't is because Dr. Michaels already de-escalated it himself. This isn't Spider-Man being a pushover, this is Spider-Man having impulse control. And considering he was doing the job for 8 years, I'd expect him to build impulse control over time. It simply makes sense for someone in his circumstances. Peter would know that attacking Sable in retaliation would only provoke needless violence and could get innocent people harmed in the crossfire. Peter only engages in violence if absolutely necessary, which is what he does when a Sable agent is about to execute someone.
I'm executing this son of a...
Hey! That's not how we do things! Down! Down!
This is yet another example of Peter clearly having a backbone. He doesn't stand around when people are trying to execute criminals. He's even aggressive when he says this. He's also not even a pushover when Sable first confronts him after this. He gives a snide remark when he gets informed as to why Sable International is even here.
Head of Sable International, a private security force, paid for by Mayor Osborn.
Oh, the mayor has a pet army now?
He's even staring at Sable with mild aggression before swinging off, which is implicitly doubling down on his insult towards them, which is again, not something a pushover would do. Another example of Peter clearly having a backbone is when he talks to Martin Lee when he catches him snooping around his secret office. Now Peter doesn't even have to say anything for me to point out that he does have a backbone here as well. He's just staring Martin Lee dead in the eye with clear contempt for his actions at City Hall. He even tries to find a subtle way of finding out what Martin Lee may be up to.
But the bombers are still out there. Who knows what they've planned next?
Another instance is when Peter tells Martin Lee to his face that the blood is on his hands, in spite of Martin Lee's attempt to persuade him to his side.
All the souls you've lost, the innocent victims you couldn't save.
Martin, their blood is on your hands!
What's interesting about this sequence is the reason that Spider-Man didn't give in to Martin Lee's manipulation while the others who were corrupted by him did, in spite of some of them otherwise being good people, was because of Spider-Man's sheer willpower to overcome his corruption. You know what that's dependent on? Oh right, Spider-Man having a backbone. Now I know some people are going to say that it's easy for Peter to have a backbone when he's dealing with a supervillain, though I'm not sure how that's a meaningful response since the idea behind a backbone is that it shows when a wrongdoing is committed. But setting that aside, Peter is also shown to stand up to MJ when he believes she's gone too far in keeping him out of the loop.
MJ, did you know Lee would be here?
Not exactly.
Oh, well, I guess Peter's not gonna press her on this. He simply accepts that answer because he's simply a pushover, right?
What do you mean?
I thought something might happen, but not like this.
Why didn't you tell me? I thought we were partners.
Hey, partners trust each other, Peter.
What do you mean? I trust you?
Yeah, when I'm sitting at home behind a laptop.
Oh, come on.
So, I think this exchange speaks for itself. Peter is not lacking a backbone. He doesn't accept vague responses that don't fully address what he's asking. He's adamant on MJ showing clear transparency, and it shows in this exchange. And when he finds her responses unreasonable, he makes it abundantly clear. That is not someone who's a pushover or lacks a backbone. It's actually funny, since this is building off a pre-established conflict with Peter and MJ, part of which involves her complaining that Peter essentially has too much of a backbone at times.
We broke up because you wouldn't stop treating me like a baby. Don't do this, MJ. Don't do that, MJ. Oh, that's too dangerous, MJ. I may not have super spider powers, but I'm not made out of glass.
You snuck into the middle of an armed military—
For Peter to constantly make demands like this to MJ, this relies on Peter having, you guessed it, a backbone. And it's actually to a hypocritical degree in this case, because Peter is expecting MJ to be fine with him being Spider-Man and putting himself in danger. But when MJ tries to do the same thing as a reporter, Peter goes as far as trying to not get her to pursue stories that might be connected to dangerous people, because he's afraid of what may happen to MJ as a result. It's an understandable concern, but Peter doesn't realize that this is actually a hypocritical outlook, and this is something he learns from in the story. Another instance involves Otto, and this part is before Peter even knows that Otto was going to become a supervillain, so you can't just say it's easy for Peter to stand up for himself because he's dealing with a supervillain. Peter doesn't know that by this point.
Otto, the neural web isn't isolating your motor neurons. It could be affecting other parts of your brain, your inhibitions, your mood. I just think we need some more tests.
We've got enough testing! For the first time in my life, I don't feel like a failure. I feel like me.
Otto, you're not a failure. But this could permanently damage your mind. Please.
Right.
Peter doesn't give up on the argument until Otto seemingly concedes to what Peter is saying. This is again, not a case of Peter lacking a backbone. It shows that he will stand on his beliefs until a proper change is shown. Is that really someone you'd refer to as a pushover? That doesn't really make sense. And I know Otto is a villain by the time Peter has this exchange with him, but
I don't care.
I tried to warn you, Peter, but you didn't listen. You knew. I won't let you win. This means too much to me.
Not more than it means to me!
You can't save me, Peter.
Then I guess you'll have to save yourself!
I should have known you'd turn on me, just like all the others.
Turn. I've worshipped you. Your mind, your conscience, wanting to help others. The way you never gave up.
We have to do what's best for those beneath us, whether they understand it or not.
No, you're wrong! You are everything I wanted to be! You just threw it away!
so this is self-evidently not spineless. He's ready to call out Doc Ock when he tries to imply that Peter was the one who turned on him, and angrily tells Otto to his face how he was in the wrong. And we have to remember that Otto was his mentor. He refers to him as his hero, and he's still willing to hold him accountable and make sure he faces justice.
Do everything I can. I'll make sure you get the best help. You do what you think is best, Doc. It's all any of us can.
He also applies this to his friend Yuri.
I know what you're gonna say, but just hear me out. The system works most of the time, but there are times when it doesn't. And to me, that's unacceptable. Some people put their trust in fate, or karma, or whatever. But I can only trust me.
You can't kill people, Yuri.
Apparently I can. And you know what? It felt good.
You need to turn yourself in.
For what? I just dispensed justice. True justice. And I restored a little bit of balance to the world.
You're my friend, Yuri. I don't want to come after you.
Even when his friend is starting to kill criminals, he stands against this and makes it clear that he will turn her in for doing this. We also have another scene in the DLC where he calls out Black Cat for stringing him along and manipulating him throughout the entire mission.
Tell me you weren't just stringing me along!
Sorry, sweetie. But I needed help to pull off a job this big.
All you ever wanted was Hammerhead's drive.
The entire wealth of the Magia. In the palm of my hand.
You gave Hammerhead fake drives?
You think he's gonna be mad at me?
So, the kidnapping? Your son? That was all just a lie?
Lie is such an ugly word. I prefer misdirection.
Do the right thing. Take the drives to the police.
Hey, I earned these. Besides, Hammerhead's on a mission and nothing is gonna stop him. If anything, I just help slow him down a bit.
They cleaned out the whole yard! Check the vault!
Time to go. I'll raise a glass to you on the Riviera.
Felicia!
Now, the Miles Morales game doesn't have much of Peter Parker himself, but even then, Peter makes a joke about how he can sometimes be too harsh on Miles.
Hey, bro. I read MJ's front pager about some Karya.
Not while you were swinging, I hope. Sorry. Scolding mentor mode, downshifting.
Do I get to say it? Please tell me that I can say it.
Say it.
You know what this joke about his behavior is reliant on? Oh right, Peter having a backbone. This criticism really doesn't make sense when you break down this character, and by now I think it's clear that this is an easy to disprove talking point. It's really strange how this is somehow used as an example of failing to give Peter Parker flaws, or any kind of strong backbone, when this version of the character is implied to have a backbone even to a flawed degree. And plus, this version had so much of a moral backbone that he was willing to let his aunt die to save the city. The actual spineless response to the situation would be this.
You're saying the lives of a billion strangers are more important than my loved ones?
It's one thing to try giving Peter Parker flaws, it's another to have him say something borderline psychotic like that to justify tearing a hole in the past to let billions of people suffer or die, just so he can stay in the future and supposedly keep his loved ones safe, because ignoring supervillains is totally something Peter believes would save his loved ones. But on the opposite extreme, we have a version where Peter is ready to be a hero before he even gets his powers or has a reason to feel guilty for anything.
I don't think she's interested, buddy.
This I don't like either, because this actually comes across as Peter lacking character flaws or anything that meaningfully makes him a human character. Now the point I'm trying to make here is that neither extreme is good. If you make Peter Parker heroic and immovably selfless and wise from start to finish, he stops being a believable character, and lacks any meaningful flaws that make for rich character conflicts. But if you make Peter Parker deliberately selfish and borderline psychotic enough to show apathy for a billion lives, then he's not even a superhero anymore, which should at least be the bare minimum. He's only fighting for himself at that point. In the PS4 game and the Miles Morales game, Insomniac managed to deliver a proper balance between Peter's strengths and weaknesses. Peter should be heroic. He should at least be trying to be selfless, even if he's making a selfish choice without realizing he is. He doesn't leave a billion strangers to die just to save who he loves. He's an idealist who tries to make the best choices he can for everyone. He doesn't always succeed, sometimes he's a hypocrite when he's trying, but something that's been true since he indirectly caused the death of his uncle is that he believes he should try, because if he doesn't, then he has betrayed his uncle, and any chance for Uncle Ben's death to mean something or to teach Peter something would ultimately become meaningless. That's all I've got to say for now. Let me know what you think in the comments, subscribe if you want more of these videos, and be sure to watch some of my others as well. I'll see you all later, goodbye.